You think you're moving here for the beauty, but it's the everyday differences that change everything.
Imagine moving from the United States to Portugal and expecting colorful tiled cities, beautiful beaches, great food, and a relaxed European vibe. And getting all of that. You know Portugal will be different from America, and you're looking forward to that. But what most Americans don't expect are the everyday lifestyle differences that quietly change everything. How you live, eat, and socialize.
Well, in this video, we're diving into some of lifestyle shocks Americans experience when moving to Portugal. And we're skipping the obvious ones like bureaucracy and slower pace of life. Instead, we're going to talk about 7 surprising day-to-day differences that can catch people completely off guard. So stick around to the end because the last difference might be our favorite. So let's get into it.
You may have already heard about the cafe culture in Portugal. Portugal's a very social place, and the cafes in Portugal are a lot like the pubs in Ireland or the UK, the place to meet up. But it's not just people sitting outdoors in romantic European settings, although you will definitely see that.
And you might also see a group of older men in a small no-frills town cafe with plastic tables and dim fluorescent lighting, drinking coffee or sparkling water or a small beer, sometimes even at 7 or 8 in the morning. But they'll be doing it quietly together. It's not pretty or Instagram friendly, but that sight definitely has a charm all its own.
And during the day, you'll often see workers come into a local restaurant and stand at the counter, and they order a bica or a cafe, which is kind of like a Portuguese espresso. They don't sit, they just stand and chat with the owner, and they drink their coffee, and then they head back out for their day.
And then they might also have a shot of the owner's proprietary liquor that they have up on the high counter. Lots of restaurant owners in Portugal, they'll make their own liquor, and they might offer you a sample if they like you, or have one off the shelf that they offer you at the end of your...
Yeah, something special.
Yeah.
We've been offered samples at different restaurants around Portugal. The owners are very proud of their strong liquors, and they love to share them with you. And we feel really privileged to be invited to try them.
And it's not just liquor. One time I was in a little produce market in Porto buying fruit and vegetables, and the owner offered me some of his own batch of homemade wine. He didn't speak any English, and at the time I didn't speak much Portuguese at all, but he was still very welcoming and really wanted me to try his wine.
We've talked about this before, but it bears repeating, because even after we've been here more than 4 years, it still trips us up at times. In Portugal, lunch or almoço is a big deal. All the other businesses close up every day for at least a couple of hours, from about 12 to 2 or 2:30 or even 3, so people can have a long lunch. And you'll see locals taking leisurely lunches at restaurants. They often get the prato do dia, or the plate of the day, which usually comes with soup, bread, an entree, wine or beer, and a coffee. And then at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, the restaurants will close, and they won't reopen again until dinner time at around 7 p.m. Meanwhile, the businesses all around will open up again after the lunch break, ready to meet your needs.
So if you're looking to eat, you need to keep those restaurant times in mind. And you also need to remember that other businesses are closed during those periods. Even now, after almost 5 years, I sometimes forget and I show up at a business somewhere around the middle of the day, only to find that it's closed for lunch.
If you do get hungry between 3 and 7, you can always stop by a cafe and get a snack. They stay open all afternoon, and they have some baked goods and little deep-fried breaded meat snacks, such as rissóis and croquettes. Our daughter just loves the salted cod, the bacalhau croquettes.
Ugh.
I know, but she loves them. Or you can stop in the market and look at their prepared foods, and they have a lot of stuff in their bakery area. In other words, instead of running into a fast food drive-thru and getting a hamburger like you might in the United States, your choice is much more likely going to be a pão com chorizo that was fresh baked at the bakery, and it might have some meat and cheese in it, which of course is a lot better than a fast food burger.
And as far as dinner or jantar goes, if you show up at a restaurant at 7 when it finally opens, you'll probably be the first people there. The restaurant won't really start filling up for at least an hour or 2. People dine later in Portugal. And when they do eat, they take their time.
Unlike what sometimes happens in the United States, the server is not trying to hurry you out of your table. In fact, you most likely won't even see the bill until you ask for it. And this makes for a really relaxed, enjoyable social occasion, especially if you invite some friends along for the evening.
And starting dinner late and then taking 2 or 3 hours to linger may seem shocking or indulgent to Americans, but if you embrace it, you might find yourself making some of the best memories of your life.
The last time we were in the United States, we actually had a bit of reverse culture shock when we went into a grocery store. It was so crazy to just walk through those aisles. It felt massive, and there were just so many choices. It was overwhelming, all the colors and the brands and everything. It was so different after being in Portugal. In Portugal, even larger stores have a really limited list of items, and the items vary from store to store. So unless you have very simple needs, you most likely won't find everything you need at one store. Instead, you may have to go to several stores. Especially if you're trying to cook something that's not a typical Portuguese dish, maybe something that you might make from back home.
Something with jalapenos. It is really interesting to see the foods for sale at stores, especially during the holidays. You can really learn a lot about Portuguese culture when you see what people buy to celebrate Christmas or Easter or any other big holiday, for example. There's special kinds of cheeses, cured meat, holiday cakes, in addition to the usual foods like the slabs of traditional dried salted cod.
Bacalhau.
Which smells really strong when you walk through the store. They just sit out in the open, piled up for people to choose from. But the one thing I like about the stores is there's always the fresh ingredients and the fresh produce and vegetables to buy, which is great.
Yeah, there's so much like whole food and such little amounts of processed foods. But when you shop, it becomes kind of a treasure hunt. It's a little interesting because while there are some main brands, each store actually has its own brands or versions of many products. Even like for plastic wrap. We used to have this joke with some other expats that plastic wrap would be in this cardboard box that feels like it got wet and it disintegrates in your hand and you can't rip the plastic. So then when you find the store that has the really good plastic wrap and the strong zipper plastic bags, it's like you have a victory.
We did it! We did it!
And if you find the store with the most variety of the cuts of meat, or the one that has your favorite fresh cream that you like to have in your coffee, or the one that sells some Indian spices, you're gonna really want to go to those stores. They're not usually all in the same place. You'll find your favorite butcher in town, or the favorite produce stand at the local outdoor market. And you do feel a real sense of victory when you track down something that you didn't think was actually available, or you find the best version of it.
It's the little things, I guess, when you move to a foreign country. But it can take a lot of shopping to get everything you're looking for, especially if cooking is your thing.
In the United States, people are used to having a dedicated laundry space in their house, complete with a washer and a dryer. But in Portugal, you're fortunate if you just have a clothes washer, and it's likely going to be in your kitchen. And more than likely, you will not have a dryer at all. Most people hang their clothes to dry.
Some people hang their clothes in a room with a dehumidifier rather than having a dryer, because at least in Porto in the winter, it's so damp that nothing you hang up dries, no matter how many days go by.
Just sits there wet for days on end.
You have to put it outside.
Yeah.
Unless it's raining.
The lack of a dryer in most homes is usually due to a lack of space as well as the expense of using electricity, because it costs a lot for electricity in Portugal, and it uses a lot of electricity to dry clothes. Some people have machines that are washer-dryer combos, and then those machines do neither job particularly well. We feel really lucky because when we bought our house, it came with a dryer, so that's a true luxury in Portugal.
Now, one other thing that might be a little shocking is that dryers here take a little work on your part. They don't vent to the outdoors like they do in the US. They have a reservoir that fills with water from your clothes, and you need to empty it every time you dry a load, plus take the lint out every time. It's just a couple things you got to do, but you get used to it real quick.
Yeah. Also, it takes about 5 hours to wash and dry one single load of clothes because the machines are so slow. So you just need to plan accordingly. Like everything, it's all part of the slower pace of life.
So these discoveries come as a bit of a shock to Americans. But when you are looking for a place to live here, don't take it for granted that it will come with any laundry facilities.
In fact, don't take it for granted that your home will come with kitchen appliances or light fixtures.
At all.
Even rentals can sometimes come with gaping holes under the kitchen counter where you must buy and install your own appliances. This is especially true when it comes to dishwashers. Even if that kitchen has an oven, it might not have a dishwasher. So if you're looking at a rental listing and it says unequipped kitchen, that means that there are no appliances in the kitchen. And if you're thinking, I'm renting, why should I buy appliances for this space? But in this case, the owners expect you to take the appliances with you when you leave.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, it's also weird because you're thinking, I'm renting. Why am I buying an appliance that I don't know will fit in my new house whenever I leave here? But that's the way it is, and unless you can negotiate with the owner to supply some of those appliances, sometimes you're just going to have to bite the bullet.
And a lot of times the owner will, if you negotiate with him, they will put in places.
We had an owner get a clothes washer for us one time.
So don't expect a home or an apartment to have heating or air conditioning. Many people use space heaters in the winter because it's less expensive than central heating anyway. Don't worry, you'll survive with these. But it is really nice to have mini split heat and air conditioners. So if you find a place with these, that's definitely a plus.
Yeah.
Because it can get hot at night when you're sleeping and it can get very cold in the winter. Otherwise, you'll be using fans to stay cool.
It's also really good if you can find a place with the right sun exposure. You want southern exposure as opposed to northern, for example. Believe it or not, this can make a huge difference in the comfort of your home. And if you live in a place like Alentejo where there are really hot summers, the Portuguese usually close their big metal shutters in the middle of the afternoon to keep the heat out. I personally hate to have the shutters closed in the day and keep the sun out, but it is really a smart move to keep yourself more comfortable.
Definitely keeps the house cooler,
Yeah.
that's for sure. And when you buy a house, the seller may just leave your light bulbs hanging from the wires rather than actually any lights. And this is perfectly normal and legal here. It was a surprise when I first saw it. I was like, where's the lights? But people here consider light fixtures to be a personal expression, and they like to take them to their new homes when they move. So you just have to know what is to be included when you get a place.
On the other hand, many apartments in the cities can be rented fully furnished, which is so handy if you're just coming in with a few suitcases and you just want to stay for a while or you're traveling light.
And you might and probably already know that homes in Portugal are generally much smaller than those in the United States. But once you see this in person, the difference can really surprise you at first. And after a while, though, you might begin to realize that the things that you thought were non-negotiables really are not needed at all.
I remember house hunting back when we were in the United States and telling the realtor that we needed double sinks in the master bathroom, making a joke that our marriage depended upon it. But now that we're in Portugal, we've gone to having no double sinks in any bathroom, to living without a master bathroom at all, and being fine with it. Whatever you get, you make it work. And in most cases, you find out that it will work.
And we had 2 cars in the US and we couldn't imagine only having one, but now we can't even imagine having 2.
I would rather not even have to have a car at all.
It's better if you don't have one.
Yeah.
Just walk everywhere.
Yeah. Now have to
Metro.
park, now have to drive in the crazy traffic.
Great Uber and Bolt
Yeah.
here. And in the US, pretty much everyone has a big car. But here, you want a smaller car because the roads and the parking spaces are so small here. Sometimes there's barely room for 2 cars to pass each other on a narrow road.
That gets very exciting.
It's very exciting.
When you move to Portugal, your mentality about what you need definitely changes.
In the US, you might ask the server at a restaurant, which dish is the best to order? But if you ask that question in Portugal, you'll most likely hear, it depends.
Of course it depends. Of course it depends.
This is the classic Portuguese response. Whether you ask which pastry is better or which beach is better to go to, you're probably not going to get a straight answer. Maybe this speaks to the diplomatic nature of Portuguese culture.
And if you are trying to figure out next steps, for example, as you're carting around your paper medical records from one facility to the next, because medical facilities, sharing them electronically with each other isn't a thing here for privacy reasons. So you may be told to go to one place, only to be told that really you should be at another place across town, and then you go there, and then you're sent to another place, and so on. And yes, this has happened to me.
Took all day long, and he still never found out where he's supposed to be.
Life goes on, man.
And this can continue on for quite some time. You might never get a straight answer. And it's not because people don't want to help you. They just don't want to admit that they don't know where you should go. They're not being rude. They really want to help. They don't want to shut the door on you. So when they don't know, they just send you to another place. So you just learn how to be patient and polite while all this is taking place. And you hope that in the end, you'll get where you need to go.
In Portugal, local and city celebrations or festas go all night long. Fireworks go off in the middle of the night or early in the morning. At our house, we often wake up to the sound of fireworks because the Portuguese love them so much. They shoot them off at every occasion, rain or shine, daytime or night. You can't see them when they're exploding in the sky, but you see the smoke.
Yeah, and you hear the bang. One friend of ours said that her 30th birthday included a fireworks display that her friends had arranged because that's a normal thing here. We've seen some really beautiful fireworks from our house, but we've also just experienced the smoke and the bangs of the fireworks that happen in the morning when it's raining and cloudy outside.
And every small town has its own little festival. They may arrange rows of beautiful flowers on the street, and they hang lights above the roads, and they decorate the local church to honor the local saint. They may have parades or performances where everyone is dressed in traditional clothing. It's really a privilege to get to experience these local festivities.
From the smallest children to the elderly, everyone is together at all of these events. No one is telling the kids to go to bed. In fact, the party's just getting started at midnight, and it can run all night long. And it has.
Festivals aren't the only times people celebrate together outside, though. We've come across so many surprising and awesome moments just walking around the city streets. This is a culture where people take time to celebrate the little things, to enjoy the good weather as a community, and to be together with friends and family. And we love it.
Yeah. Finally, perhaps the most encompassing shock is the incredible depth of history you're constantly interacting with. It's woven into a modern European culture. In fact, the little street that we used to live on in Porto was so old that the Romans used to use it as their thoroughfare. It's such an amazing feeling to imagine Roman soldiers marching on the street that's right under your feet or right outside your door.
Well, it sounds cliche, but history in Portugal isn't just in museums, it's everywhere. Like, we lived in a building that was over 150 years old, and we shopped at markets that have been there for generations. The history is so deep, and it shapes the people's perspectives in ways that are hard to grasp initially. It gives them a sense of continuity and perspective that feels vastly different from the newer feeling of American culture.
Yeah, and even though it's steeped in history, Portugal isn't stuck in the past. It has a thriving startup scene, world-class design, and a modern infrastructure, like the public transportation, which is so amazing.
There are new kinds of art, music, and food being created all the time in hotspots all over the country. Portugal is not just a simple, quaint folk village. It's a dynamic country that is balancing its rich heritage with an exciting future.
For us as creatives, this is really meaningful and it inspires us with our art. We're actually going to talk more in depth about this in our next video.
Moving from the US to Portugal isn't just a change of address to a beautiful new place. It's a shift in daily habits and routines and small cultural details that shape how life feels. Some of these lifestyle shocks take a little getting used to, but others quickly become the things that people love most about living in Portugal. And once you adapt to the rhythms of Portuguese life, many Americans say it's hard to imagine going back.
If you're thinking about moving to Portugal, or you've already made the move, which lifestyle differences surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below.
Thanks for watching. And if you're getting value from our channel, please consider subscribing. And if you feel like helping out the channel, buy us a coffee at the link in the description below. We would very much appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.